Good evening and welcome to this regular board meeting of the Poway Unified School Board. It is August 15th and it is 6:04. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast, so if you're here, you might be seen and you might be heard on that recording. I now invite you to stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That takes us to the report out of closed session. Clerk Couvret.
The report out of closed session for the regular school board meeting. Closed session began at 4:04. The Board of Education took the following action in closed session. 2.1-A, in the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number ADR 06042024, on a motion by Couvret and a second by Seitzma. The board voted 4-0 to approve the settlement with Plotsky absent. 2.1B, in the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number ADR 06112024, on a motion by Seitzma and a second by Patel. The board voted 4-0 to approve the settlement agreement with Plotsky absent. 2.1C, in the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number ADR 06212024, on a motion by Seitzma and a second by Patel. The board voted 4-0 to approve the settlement agreement with Plotsky absent. 2.1-D, in the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number ADR 07152024, on a motion by Couvret and a second by Seitzma. The board voted 4-0 to approve the settlement agreement with Plotsky absent. 2.1-E, in the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number ADR 07162024, on a motion by Patel and a second by Seitzma. The board voted 4-0 to approve the settlement agreement with Plotsky absent. 2.1-F, in the matter of conference with legal counsel pending existing litigation, case number OAH 202403033124, on a motion by O'Connor Radcliffe and a second by Seitzma. The board voted 4-0 to approve the settlement agreement with Plotsky absent. 2.5-A, in the matter of public employee discipline, dismissal, release, reassignment, resignation, non-reelection, on a motion by O'Connor Radcliffe and a second by Patel. The board voted 4-0 to take action in closed session to terminate the employment of certificated employee number 115042, a teacher, based on the requirements of Education Code Section 44826, with Plotsky absent. 2.6-A, in the matter of public employee appointment, principal, elementary school, on a motion by Couvret and a second by Seitzma. The board voted 4-0 to take action in closed session to appoint Jeff Friedenberg as principal of Tierra Bonita Elementary School. All four is 4-0 with one absent. Sorry, my tongue was getting twisted up a little bit here. 2.6-A, in the matter of public employee appointment, principal elementary school, and a motion by Couvret and a second by Patel. The board voted 4-0 to take action in closed session to appoint Aaron Little as principal of Chaparral Elementary School. The vote was 4-0 with Plotsky absent. And there was no other reportable action taken during closed session. Closed session adjourned at 5:53.
Thank you, Clerk Couvret. The next item is members in attendance. I'd like to note that our student board member, Ms. Kylie, is here for her first meeting. Welcome. We're excited to have you on board this year. Hooray. And a note that Ms. Plotsky is out of town due to a death in her family, so our thoughts are with her this week. For our welcome to the public, Ms. Kylie.
Welcome to the monthly meeting of the Board of Education. If you would like to address the board on any agenda item, please complete a speaker slip. All requests to speak must be submitted to the clerk of the board before the agenda item comes up. Speaking time for agenda items is 2 minutes per speaker. If you would like to address the board on a non-agendized item, you may do so under item 4.2, public comments. Speaking time is limited to 2 minutes per speaker with a maximum of 30 minutes total unless waived by the board president. There will be a 30-second yellow warning light when time is running out. Speakers may only speak on one topic under item 4.2 and may not defer their speaking time to another individual. If there are concerns regarding specific individuals, it is preferred that the speaker refrain from naming them publicly to respect their privacy. The board will accept and review any written materials that would provide more specific information. The Brown Act does not permit board action or extended discussion of any item not on the agenda, but your concerns will be referred to staff. With that said, welcome and thank you for coming.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Dr. Seitzman.
Second.
Second by Dr. Patel. I'll start with our preferential vote down at the end.
Aye.
Thank you, and all in favor? That's 5-0. That takes us to our oral presentations. Go? Okay. Public comments. I did note that our student board members aren't here, our student reps aren't here this week because school doesn't start until next week. But I know that you left the front row empty for them. That's very kind of you. They're here in spirit. So we'll move to 4.2 public comments. Clerk Couvret.
Tim Dockery.
Very close. Hi, my name is Tim Doherty, and I'm a candidate for the Area A trustee seat in the upcoming election. And voting begins on October 7th, and this board is scheduled to approve a new superintendent 3 days after that voting starts for the 2 board seats up for election. I strongly urge you to reconsider this timing that you have scheduled by pushing the interviews and final selection until after the election. With approval in December or possibly January, you allow newly elected board members who represent the voice of the voters to have final say in this significant and long-term decision. This step would demonstrate a commitment to transparency and respect for the democratic process. Our interim superintendent, whom you appointed, has been doing a commendable job for over 8 months. Extending this period by just a couple months more would not derail our district's progress. It also might allow an outside selection to wrap up work at their current position during winter break. To recap the timeline, for the public's sake, this board waited 9 months after the incident at Del Norte, at the Del Norte banquet, and to put Ms. Phelps on leave. Another 3 months to put her on leave, another 3 months to terminate her, and another 3 months. This board wants to expedite, 2 more months to begin the search for her replacement. Now in less than 3 months, this board wants to expedite the hiring process just as voting for board seats begins. Respectfully, this is not the right approach for gaining public trust, as you often say you want. Please delay the final decisions on the superintendent until after the election, ensuring the community's voice is actually heard. If you want to really listen to the public, let them speak first with their votes. Thank you for listening.
Dr. Juanita Naki, sorry. Naku? Sorry,
It's
thank you.
pronounced as like the letter K. It's not Chinese. We found out that it came from Rome. Not Rome. Rome. No, but it's in Europe. That's for my husband. But anyway, as what you have called me, I'm Dr. Juanita Santos Naku, representing the Filipino American Parent-Student Group of Poway for Poway Unified School District. As one of the group I represent, I have about several more, but that's the most important because those are the stakeholders that are interested in what will happen. So I want to read something here in Filipino, and it says, kung hindi tayo kikilos, sino ang kikilos? Kung hindi tayo kikibo, sino ang kikibo? Kung hindi ngayon, kailan pa? Translated as, if you will not act, who will? If you will not speak up, who will? And the last one is, if not now, when? So that's why I'm here. Our children, they were in the first grade in the year 1985 and 1986. And without our knowledge, they were sent to ESL classes just because another language was spoken at home. I just found out. We were not informed. But that made me stay and really keep up with what's going on in the district. I was 37 years old at that time. I'm 78 now, and I'm still here. I still want to be the person who would say, who will speak up? I will. And who will put it into action? I will. And when? Now. No time to waste. So this is all about, I forgot my, I emailed you the, I hope you were able to see the video. Thank you. And
I'm sorry, this is time. No, it's been your 2 minutes. I'm so sorry.
Oh, I'm done?
Yes. No, I'm sorry.
Thank you, and I know that staff has been in touch with you and will continue to be and keep the board up to date on it as well. So thank you very much for your time and coming tonight.
Federico Umans? Gosh, I'm on a roll today. I apologize. Wow.
Superintendent, Board, I'm here because of a great concern to everyone in the neighborhood of Sabre Springs and probably other neighborhoods in the area regarding transportation to the middle schools and the high schools. Specifically for Meadowbrook Middle School, where my daughter will be attending, the school buses have been cut completely from our neighborhood due to the fact that the measurement for the radius of non-transportation is 2.5 miles. The entire neighborhood falls into that 2.5 mile radius. However, there is a mountain in between us and middle school. So the true distance between us and the middle school is closer to about 4 miles. Now, how it is assumed that people will reach the school is confusing. So what I urge the board to do is to reassess the measurement of how it's done so that it is not calculated as the crow flies, but rather through the realistic commute that parents and students would have to both the middle schools and the high schools. That is it.
Craig Pond.
Let's see if this mic works over here. My name is Craig Pond. I've lived in Poway for 33 years, and I'm running for the trustee seat in Area E. When my children began attending PUSD schools, we were impressed with the quality of the teachers, and we were really pleased with the positive experiences that they had at school. Over the years, our 7 children had many outstanding teachers that affected their lives for the good. We counted on PUSD and those teachers to help us educate our children and to help guide them through some very tricky and critical years. We're grateful to have lived in this district all this time. However, over the years, we've seen a decline. We've seen declining test scores, fiscal mismanagement, dishonest communication, controversial curricula and materials. We've seen unhappy students, families, and teachers who seem ignored by the district. I've watched people speak in this meeting time and again, and their issues never seem to be addressed, let alone solved. We've all seen individuals and even large groups of students who've had years of their education kind of thrown away because of untested curricula or methods or health policy or disciplinary policy. And the Board of Education is answerable for these issues. So as we begin a new year, I challenge us to reclaim some lost ground. Let us be honest, transparent, and show love for our students. Let us ask and answer honest and difficult questions. Let us have our budget under control. Let our students find happiness and adventure in learning. Let them excel. Let us free our teachers to practice their craft to the fullest. At the end of this year, wouldn't it be great to have solved some problems and answered some questions? Thank you, and Happy New Year.
Andrew Wheel.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Andrew Weil. I've been a resident of Sabre Springs for 13 years. I've got 2 children in PUSD, and they've been in PUSD schools for their entire academic career. Unfortunately, my wife and I are splitting up, and so last year, both she and I had to relocate. The number one criteria for me, because I do work full-time, my schedule is not really compatible with the school drop-off and pickup, was that the location I moved to needed to have bus access and bus routes to the schools that my children were going to attend. This worked out tremendously well for me last year, but imagine my dismay when about a month ago I got an email saying that my students, because of an adjustment to the transportable boundaries, now fell outside of the boundary where busing would be provided. This puts me in quite the hardship, and I'm rather dismayed. One child in the same situation as the gentleman who previously spoke would have to go over the mountain or around the mountain, Van Dam Peak, to get to Meadowbrook. This is not so practical. The other student is going to attend Mount Carmel and would have to cross the 15, which is rather dangerous. So, in much the same vein as the other gentleman, I urge you to reinstate the bus routes serving Sabre Springs, and specifically, for me, the neighborhoods west of Van Dam Peak. Thank you.
Frank Shu.
Hi, good evening, board members and superintendent, and congratulations to 2 new principals. So there is one research recently done by PUSD Community Watch that's related to this topic. So since 2020, 85% of PUSD schools have had a principal turnover. And with these 2 new principals, I believe this number may go up. And 10 schools have had a new principal assigned twice or more since 2020. So what does that mean? So that means only 6 schools still have their principal back in 2020. So what happened? As far as I know, there is one disqualified principal in elementary school was promoted to a high school as an assistant principal. So that increases the size of the leadership team, and also what happened to all these principals. Does that mean there's some toxic environments that all these principals got this turnover rate? It's not normal. In a private business, if you have this kind of turnover rate, the CEO level need to review the situation. And I urge the board to look into it and see if there's something that might be the toxic from former Superintendent Phelps. And thank you.
Josh Lazara?
Hi, I'm Josh Lazarus, and today I want to address the issue of the accessibility of ESS and after-school care. I think it's a really big problem for working parents. And to my understanding, the reason that there's a lack of access is because due to the current labor market and the wages that the district is mandated to pay, they can't find people to work. And I think there is a solution to this problem. I think that using district resources like transportation and facilities and partnering with local organizations to either come into the schools or transport kids to these after-school programs could be a really great option. And I also think it won't affect the budget because I think parents would be very happy to pay for these services because the alternative is much more costly. And I know this is a huge problem for myself and for a lot of other families, and we're just looking for something that we can get our children safely to high-quality after-school care and do it affordably. And also happy to help if there's anything I can do to help with this problem, but I really think it's a big problem that a lot of parents have, and I do think there are some solutions that we could look towards. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes public comment. Thank you all very much. This takes us to item 5.1, our consent calendar. I understand we have a couple pulled by the members of the public, 3B and 4A. Do any board members have anything else they'd like to pull from consent? No? 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 Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar absent, 5.1, 3B, and 5.1, 4A?
Motion to approve.
A motion
I'll
by
second.
Dr. Seisma, second by Ms. Couvret. All in favor? Aye. That passes 4-0. Thank you. All right, let's go to 3B. Okay, 5.3B is ratification of district purchase orders, revolving cash fund expenditures, and purchase card transactions for June and July 2024. Before we go to Mr. Little on this, I'm going to call the public comment.
We have 2 comments on this one. First up is Frank Shu.
Yeah, good evening again. So in this item, there is a purchase order change on June 13, 2024 to Atkinson, Anderson, Loyola, Rude, and Romo, increasing attorney fees from $250,000 to $355,200. So just to remind the public and the board, this is the attorney firm that get our school district into the Phelps scandal. This firm didn't do its job in its first investigation, and Trustee Patel knows it very well. And that costs the school district at least $500,000 now for this, to deal with this scandal. And I have spoke up last time when you proposed a purchase order amendment for this attorney firm, and this is the second time. And you wanted to pass it in a consent calendar. That proves that this board has no willingness to take any responsibility and accountability on this Phelps scandal. And you need to investigate why this law firm made the conclusion that Phelps didn't do wrong. And I urge this board to look into it instead of give taxpayer dollars to this unethical company again. Thank you.
Mr. Little?
I have one more.
Oh, on the same item?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Okay.
Melinda Hunton.
So there's a change order on the purchase orders on June 7th. The original PO amount was for $564,368 to the Stepping Stone, which is for special education. It says speech and language services. I looked up it. That also has to do with, like, I think autism specialists. Then the change order added to this is going to be $1,965,430. So a huge budget in the first place, $500,000, and then it gets added basically $2 million to this line item. Was this approved before the budget was finished or approved after? And I'm just kind of curious, like, how these things get approved and what the process is, because it's just a huge amount of money, and we're already struggling, and we're already having to account for $15 million this year that our kids aren't going to get, probably another $15 million the following year. And it just seems, I know there's a lot of things that we don't understand, little line items, but that's just a massive one. So I just wonder what the process is and why this is found to be so important that it's approved. And I understand there's a lot of kids that need extra help, but you also see a huge chunk of our money going to, this probably doesn't go to all the kids, it just goes to some of the kids. And so I'm just wondering how this gets approved is my question.
Let's go to Mr. Little first.
Sure,
To-
yes.
Yeah.
53B obviously is our monthly ratification of purchase orders in excess of $5,000. On this particular report, as was noted, we have June purchase orders, we have July purchase orders, and then we have change orders to purchase orders that have already been approved to the board. The way the process works is the board approves agreements with all of our service providers through the CSR, which is the contract service report, which preceded this one. And then the month following that board approval, then that vendor or that firm shows up on the PO report. I do believe that the points made should be well taken, and there should be a way to better explicate large change orders against POs that have already been approved when they exceed certain thresholds. So I think we should take that under consideration. With respect to stepping stones, it was a matter of consolidating. We went from 6 agencies that provide those services to 1 or 2. So it's actually a matter of just moving funds around. Unfortunately, we don't go back and we should, but we don't always go back and subtract POs. So if we're losing a vendor, we don't bring to the board the fact to undo a PO, right? It still is on the books. At some point, we drop it out of the budget, so it's not there impacting our budget, but we don't bring it to the board's attention if they're going away, kind of thing. But anyways, that particular change order was a result of consolidation of services into fewer providers. So it's actually either cost neutral or it's going to be cost savings.
Any comments, questions from board members to follow up? Ms. Couvret?
Was there any clarification on the law firm first primary investigation that Frank Shu brought up? Because I believe that primary investigation was an internal investigation done by staff and not the law firm. I'm just trying to clarify what he said because
I'd like to caution the board not to talk about closed session items in
Oh,
open session.
okay, sorry about that.
Just caution,
Gotcha.
that's all, yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions? No, okay, then with that, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Couvret, in a second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Patel. All in favor? Aye. Okay, so that is 4-0. And that takes us to the next item that was pulled, 5.4A, approval ratification of out-of-county and out-of-state field trips. Before we go to Ms. Peterson, Clerk Kuvler, please call the public
Okay.
speaker.
Angelina Hendricks.
Hi, I'm Angelina Hendricks. I'm a parent of a PUSD student in the arts, and I just wanted to highlight the importance of these trips to reestablishing our arts programs in schools that really took a hit during COVID, and to obviously recommend that we approve them for the kids, because rebuilding those programs is so important. Because if your child tried a Zoom play or a Zoom dance class or Zoom choir, you will know that that was not very effective. And so reigniting those kids' passion is really important. Thank you.
That's it.
Thank you. I'll let Ms. Peterson introduce the item then, and
Introduce 5.4.
yes.
Okay, so 5.4 is our monthly, in this case, 2 months' worth, approval of field trips that are either out of county or out of state.
Thank you. Any comments from board members or questions? No? I would draw your attention to, the board has been very interested in resuming a robust field trip schedule as teachers and as our extracurriculars feel helps our students a lot. And I think we all agreed up here, we had a presentation on this at one of our June meetings, because there had been some concerns that we were cutting back on those to an excessive amount. And I think the board has made it very clear that we want to bring those back, and maybe a reasonable amount of caution on our insurance premiums, but we understand the value of this, and we want to make sure that we're balancing that. So your point is well taken. Thank you for speaking to that. And I think I feel pretty safe, given our discussion in June, that we all agree with you. So thank you. My daughter did take an online dance class. That was no fun. I agree. Any other comments or questions from the board?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Dr. Patel. Is there a second? Second. Second by Dr. Seitzma. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Okay, this takes us to our 7.0s, because we don't have any 6.0s today. 7.1 is our approval of resolution number 03-2025, entitled Appointing and Employing Certain Financial Consultants in Connection with the Sale of Poway Unified School District Special Tax Refunding Bonds. Mr. Little, take it away.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Agenda item 7.1 seeks the board's approval related to employing certain financial consultants to assist with the refundings that staff will propose in the subsequent agenda items. As you'll note in the attached resolution, staff recommends appointing the following firms: Fieldman, Roloff and Associates as municipal advisor, Chapman and Cutler as bond counsel, Piper Sandler and Company as district's underwriter, Key Analytics as special tax consultant, Stradling, Yelka, Carso and Roth LLP as disclosure counsel, and finally Zions Bank Corporation as the district's trustee. This is a strong team with collective years of experience, and we're pleased to bring them on board at the board's approval.
Thank you, Mr. Little. Are there questions or comments on this item? Mr. Little, can you verify, I'm looking at this list, and I think we've worked with all of these before, except perhaps for Chapman and Cutler? Are they?
I believe we've worked with them all.
Stradling, maybe?
Mhm.
Oh, we have.
We've
Okay,
worked with all
great.
of them. Mhm.
Thank you, thank you. Is there a motion? Any discussion? If not, there's a motion somewhere out there, I just know it.
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Seitzma. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Patel. Okay, then I will call the vote, and this, you're back in play here. Thank you very much, Ms. Kiley. Everybody else, all in favor? Aye. Okay, that's 5-0. Thank you. 7.2, approval of resolution number 04-2025, entitled Authorizing and Approving the Form of Separate First Supplemental Bond Indentures, a First Amendment to Funding Allocation Agreement, a preliminary official statement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance by the Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority of special tax revenue refunding bonds, Series 2024A, for the purpose of refunding its outstanding special tax refunding bonds, Series 2014C. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. Well said. I'm going to ask Mr. Bauer to come to the podium. And also, the Chaplin and Cutler question that just preceded this is Nora O'Brien is our bond counsel. I believe she's here this evening as well. And she used to work at a different firm. So we worked with Nora for many years, and she's now with Cutler and Chapman and Cutler, pardon me. All right, so get my stuff together here. This evening, staff and the team that were just approved by the board proposed refunding 2 sets of current PFA special tax revenue bonds, the 2014 B bonds and the 2014 C bonds. Doing so now, as you'll see, will result in an estimated $5.5 million of savings to district taxpayers. We'll seek board approval from these through subsequent board items. The presentation that follows pertains to agenda items 7.2 through 7.5 this evening. Next slide, please. So as you know, as per the board's policy, 7210, refunding should be initiated whenever economically feasible and advantageous to the district. That's why this evening we will be recommending 2 different refundings, and Mr. Bauer with Fieldman Rollup is going to walk us through the specifics.
Good evening and thank you. So just to help with the coordination of this, because like most Poway USD CFD presentations, it's complex and there's a lot of pieces to it. We have 2 authority structures here. The green represents one, the yellow represents the other. The green is representing the refunding of the 2014 C, but we're calling that the 2024 A. And then you can see there the 2024 B refunding the 2014 B. The other thing I think is worth noting is when we did the last round of transactions, we were able to do this with a direct placement process. That was before you heard about the banking crisis, and one of the things that led to that banking crisis was the banks buying a lot of municipal and treasury bonds, and then when rates went up, their bonds were devalued. And then you had investors pulling money out of the banks. That caused problems for them. And so there's less of those opportunities right now. But so we're back to the more traditional route of having like an IPO. And that's where I can't give you all exact numbers yet. And so just want to make sure that was clear, because we had done public offerings for 10 years. Then we did a year or so of direct placements. Now we're back to public. And so the first set of green here, we're looking at the 2024A, is, why are we before you this evening talking about this? The one issue that really drives a lot of that is when these bonds are sold, unlike our home mortgage, you can't just refinance them the next day. Investors are arranging millions of dollars. They're hedging. They're arranging other funds to do this as well. And so with all that coordination, they would charge an extremely high amount if we just tried to prepay them the next day. And so what a typical municipal call feature or prepayment feature is about 10 years, depending on the year in the market. And so that 10 years is up September 15th, 2024. So that's issue one, where this kind of, if we could have done it sooner, the economics have worked, you just couldn't get them away from investors yet. And so I hit on both, well, the first bullet point I skipped, so let me get to that. While interest rates are higher than they were during the COVID era, which they were pretty much artificially pushed down, they are, if you go back to about 2005, relatively close to average. On the short end, they're a little bit higher, so years 1 through 7, a little bit higher. You've heard about the inverted yield curve if you even turn on the news. And that means some of the short-term rates are actually higher than the midterm rates. That's the inverted yield curve. So that first 7 years were slightly elevated, but then years 8 and beyond, we are at about average or just slightly below in a lot of cases. And so that's just to give you a general sense of the market. We used to give you a little market update, but yours are always so long, I tried to keep it a little simpler. And then the other thing is these CFDs, as years have gone by, have become better and better credits for investors. So investors look at a history and they say delinquencies have maintained low, and this area has continued to do well economically. And then now these are all owned by mostly individual homeowners. So that's like the best it gets as far as safety goes. And then you're built out. And then since, as you all know, property values have gone up. And so when investors say, at one point I was having this and it made up about 2% of the home price, it's below that today. And so those are all the factors that have contributed to making this economically work today. So that next third set of bullet points there is, what would drive us to consider something like this? And per your policies, GFA and a lot of other industry experts would advise that if you're over 5%, give it extremely strong condition, if not move quickly. And so when we last ran these numbers, it was at 6.77. But that factor alone shouldn't be the only thing. So for example, if the consultants are walking away with more money than your taxpayers would get, maybe we want to look at that again. And that's partly why we've pooled these, is to make sure that you have larger par amounts and we're not just doing refundings basically to benefit consultants and underwriters and things like that. And so in this case, there's gross savings of 3.2, but that's over a period of time to about 2035, if I remember correctly. I'll show you the exact date in a minute. But when we present value that to current dollars, that turns into $939 million. And then cost of issuance, what I want to make sure you saw, and there is more cost, there's an underwriter involved, but the cost of issuance you can see at 286, and I have a breakdown of that like we've always shown Poway. And then we also have, this would continue to enhance the special tax reduction plan, whereas we drive down debt service, we can then execute on calling bonds and paying things off over time. And so now give you some of the details of this transaction. The 2014 C started off as 19.5 million. Those bonds were issued just 7/30/2014, so just a little over 10 years ago. And I think an important note there is that coupon payment is a 5%. So that's where the interest rate is higher than it is today. So principal outstanding, you can see you've paid off approximately 6 million of those bonds. And our optional redemption date is 9/15/2024. Given at the time when we were batching these deals to try to get that efficiency, one of the things that investors required, because there's complexity in combining CFDs, is that we would have to have the only could call bonds on 15 days after all the funds got transferred in there. So that's 9/1, so then 9/15, 3/1, then 3/15. So unlike some of your others where we say, hey, we can do this anytime and now it's just a good time, on this one we had to line up with interest payments to make sure that we can execute on those. So that was another factor why now was another thing to take a look at. So I have some really good news. On the far right here, the rating assumption on all this, so the numbers are going to get better, is we assumed we get an A+. As a reminder, there's several categories: AAA, AA, single A, triple B, and then down below that. So we assumed the A+. We achieved AA-. And that was really an effort by district staff and your team to put together a comprehensive presentation. And on this one, we started off with a AA- and we finished that. I'm going to give you a little story in a minute on how we worked real hard to make another one a little bit better here. But then you can still say, I hit on all these others, so I don't want to make you listen to all that over again. But let's go right there in the middle. True interest cost at 3.42. So the old bonds have 5%. This one, the true interest cost is 3.42. That's what's driving that savings. Okay, so we give a breakdown of the sources and uses here. So a lot of numbers. And usually when I show this to you, I get to say, hey, you get this much more money or something like that. That's not the case. We're just basically taking old bonds, creating money to pay those off. The bottom section I think is really important there, is we qualify for bond insurance and surety on this one. We actually got approval for that 2 days ago. And so oftentimes when we do this, you'd have to fund a reserve fund about 1 year's worth of payments. And that money just sits there and earns very little. We have very strict investments that it can be invested in, so it earns very little. In this case, because of what a good credit this is, you're able to get bond insurance and a surety. So bond insurance ensures principal and interest payments for investors, but the reason why you care is investors will lend at a lower rate knowing they have insurance on those. But then secondly, that surety, that's in lieu of that cash-funded reserve fund there. And I think this one really sums it up. The light green slash mark ones, those are the old bonds payments, and the solid green would be the new bond payments. And you can see, I guessed at 235, that is the terminus, so not too much longer on this one. So that's your first set. Oh, here's another thing we always show the board, is a summary stats on the far right. As you recall, the maximum repayment ratio there at the bottom you're allowed to have is a 4-to-1. You're at 1.33. So that's certainly a positive there. The other thing on the far right is your finance team. And once again, grouping these is just so important, because if we were to do these on a standalone basis, that number would be anywhere from 180,000 to 230, 240,000 for each deal. So by combining them, you're able to get that efficiencies in that cost of issuance. Our schedule, should you approve this evening, we would look to print the preliminary official statement no later than the 19th. This is a document that investors get to see and decide whether this is something they're interested in purchasing. And then we'd have our bond pricing at the very end of August. And then the last two are very important because we have to close on that 15th or later, or 6 months from now. But that would be really what we're striving towards, is to make sure we close on that 15th date. I'm going to move through the other one much quicker because I've laid a lot of the foundation. So this one, you can see there the net present value savings at 562, gross savings 2.196. Once again, well over that 5%. And this one, I showed you the cost of issuance as well. Same thing on special tax reduction program. Far left, same set of data. You're going to say, why are the coupons the exact same? That's very common. Investors like 5% coupons. So that's why we have premium or discount bonds depending on the market. But where the investor typically wants to end up is at that 5% coupon. So then to the far right, the true interest cost on this one is at 4.05. Here's the story. Go to that top rating assumption, once again, A+. The rating analyst gave us an A+, and we looked at the report and we said, some of the things that you told us about why we're an A+ versus a AA- makes sense, but we really want you to look at this one number and reconsider and take it back to committee and see if that changes it. They're hemming and hawing, and we said, we need you to, and they did. About an hour before I left to come down here, AA-. Once again, that's just driving more savings to the program here. And so, not all district staffs would allow us to go kind of make that fight, but your staff said, go for it, let's get this done, and we got it done. I've been doing this since 2001. I can only think of one other time where we had a rating changed after the fact like that. Usually there's a red line. They don't want to do it. But we found a mistake, and they did it. Once again, same thing here. Bond insurance, surety, that was approved. Same thing on this one. You can see highlight yellow versus dark yellow. That's the difference there. And then cost of issuance, and also some of the same sets of facts on this one as well. This one is a longer term, so that's why the debt service ratio is a little bit higher in this one. And then very similar schedule. And I'll turn it back over to Mr. Little.
Yep, and then thank you, Mr. Bauer. And this slide is just to remind the board and the public about the special tax reduction plan that we developed and put into place in 2020. So all of what we just reviewed is in fact in support of saving taxpayers money to the tune of an estimated $1.2 billion in the long term. Next slide, please. And then this is just a nice reminder of what this team has done, the current business services team, as well as Adam and our other team members since my tenure here in June of 2017. So nearly $29 million worth of savings for the taxpayers through these refundings and other opportunities that we'll continue to take advantage of as they materialize. So with that, we're happy to answer any questions.
Thank you both. You have already answered many of my questions
great.
before tonight, and I appreciate that. I'll go down the row here. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
No questions, but thank you for a very thorough presentation. I always love seeing how you're going to save us money. I think it's great.
Thank you.
As a homeowner in the district, this is music to my ears. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do want to note that I did ask to verify whether our net present value savings did that already take into account all of those costs? Yes, they do. I had also asked if Mr. Bauer would do some simple math for us to show us those savings. Show us where they were. Maybe circle the numbers for us, so we add and subtract the right things.
It truly is simple, but you didn't have the materials to do it yourself. And so there's a page like this. And then what this does is it takes one column is date, the next column is prior debt service, the old bonds. The next column is refunding debt service, new bonds, subtracts the difference between the two. That's your gross number. And then to the far right, it present values that number. Then it adds all those up. And that's how you get to the calculation. But you did not have the information to do the calc yourself.
You don't have a whiteboard here either, so I'll let it slide this time.
Okay.
But I appreciate it. I think you added a lot of detail while you were giving your presentation as well, and I appreciate that. I think we hadn't had maybe that level of detail in a little while, but we haven't done a refunding in a little while either. So thank you for letting us all have a refresher course, and for everyone watching at home. That's very helpful. Thank you. Any other comments? This does require an approval of this resolution that comes after that presentation.
Motion to approve?
Thank you, Dr. Patel. And a second from Ms. Couvret. You got all that, right, Ms. Kiley? Yes. Okay, so you're our first vote. Thank you. And that's one aye, and the rest of us? Aye. Thank you. That's 5-0. All right, there we have several more that are all involved in these. So thank you, Mr. Bauer. Appreciate it. Lovely to see you. It means we're saving money for our taxpayers. 7.3 is approval of, oh gosh, it's another long one. I love these titles. Approval of resolution number 05-2025 entitled Authorizing and Approving the Form of Separate Supplemental Bond Indentures, a First Amendment to Funding Allocation Agreement, a preliminary official statement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of the Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority of Special Tax Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2024B, for the purpose of refunding its outstanding special tax revenue bonds, Series 2014B. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you. So the resolution that the board approves will authorize the issue of the 2024B authority bonds and approves the amendments of the bond indentures pursuant to which the special tax bonds were issued to provide that such special tax bonds and the obligations under those bond indentures will be pledged to the payment of the 2024B bonds. And by adoption of the resolution, the board will be approving the form of the legal documents, more importantly, and authorizing the interim superintendent or the associate superintendent of business support services to execute these documents on behalf of CFD number 11.
Thank you. Yes, I think that was one thing that we didn't throw out, that these are about CFD 11, which is Stonebridge, I believe. Yes? All right. Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Little? Yes? No? Okay. Questions? Nope. All right, this is a continuation of everything we were just doing. All right, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Thank you. Motion by Dr. Patel, second by Dr. Seitzma. Ms. Kiley, thank you, and everyone else? Aye. All right, that passes 5-0. Thank you. 7.4, so for the next two agenda items, our regular board meeting, let me get a time on this. Our regular board meeting is going to be in brief recess at 6:59. And I now convene this meeting of the Board of Directors of the Public Financing Authority at 6:59. And before we get into 7.4 and 7.5, I also want to note that the names listed on the green sheet for these two items for voting, just at the very bottom, mistakenly include non-voting executive director and treasurer of the the Public Financing Authority. Mr. Little and Mr. Mizell do not vote on this, and it does omit Director Plotsky and Director Patel for these purposes. So the voting members of the Public Financing Authority should be listed as Chair O'Connor Ratcliffe, Vice Chair Seitzma, Secretary Couvret, Director Patel, and Director Plotsky. So those will be the voting members of the Public Financing Authority. All right, so let's move forward here. Item 7.4, approval of Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority Resolution Number 06-2025, entitled Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance of Special Tax Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2024A, approving the form of an indentured trust, an escrow deposit and trust agreement, a bond purchase agreement, a preliminary official statement, a continuing disclosure certificate, a First Amendment to funding allocation agreement and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of such special tax revenue refunding bonds. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson O'Connor Radcliffe. As you said, this resolution will permit and authorize the PFA to issue bonds, the 2024A authority bonds, and grants the consent of the authority to the amendment of the bond indenture pursuant to the special tax refunding bonds that were issued to provide that such special tax refunding bonds and the obligations under those bond indentures will be pledged to the payment of the 2024A authority bonds. And like the last one, not like the last one, unique to this, the resolution also authorizes a negotiated public offering of the 2024A authority bonds, as Mr. Bauer spoke about, to the underwriter. We seek board approval.
Thank you very much. Treasurer Little. Are there any questions? No? With that, is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. I'll second.
All right, on a motion by Dr. Seitzma, a second by Ms. Couvret. All in favor? Aye. That is 4-0. Thank you. Still in session of the Public Financing Authority. 7.5 is approval of Poway Unified School District Public Financing Authority Resolution Number 07-2025, entitled Authorizing and Providing for the Issuance of Special Tax Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2024B, approving the form of an indenture of trust, an escrow deposit and trust agreement, a bond purchase agreement, a preliminary official statement, a continuing disclosure certificate, a First Amendment to funding allocation agreement, and other documents, and authorizing certain actions in connection with the issuance of such special tax revenue refunding bonds. Mr. Little.
Yes, thank you again, Chairperson O'Connor Radcliffe. As you said, this resolution will grant the staff the authority to issue the 2024B bonds and to form all the legal documents necessary to do so, as well as to authorize a negotiated public offering of those 2024B authority bonds to our underwriter.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Little? All right, with that, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Dr. Patel, second by Dr. Seitzma. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. That passes 4-0. So this meeting of the Board of Directors of the Public Financing Authority is adjourned at 7:03. And the regular Board of Education meeting is now back from that short recess at 7:03.
Thank you.
7.6 is Summer 2024 Facilities and Maintenance Project Update. Mr. Little.
Okay, thank you, Madam President. This evening, we'll provide a brief update on our summer facilities projects as well as our ongoing capital projects. Director Ruben Aris is going to help us see what we've done over the past summer. Next slide, please. We're going to move quickly through this. Here's our agenda for this presentation. Next slide, please. Here are the focus areas that our FM&O team identified for this summer, this past few months. Next slide, please. And as you know, we have very limited resources, especially those dedicated to tackling large facility issues and capital projects. So this is the funding that we identified for the summer projects this summer that we're going to review in this presentation. So you can see the very little from the general fund, as we would expect. some from our CFDs, which of course have some restrictions and constraints around how they can be used, deferred maintenance, which is really just a contribution from our general fund into that fund, and then developer fees, again, based on the development going on in the area, but restricted and constrained with respect to its uses. Next slide, please. Here's the same recap of resources, only now we're showing you what projects have been funded with each of those particular resources. And we're happy to go into detail if the board would like at any point. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to Director Aris with the next slide.
Yes, thank you. So Midland Elementary School received site-wide carpet replacement. This was a 2-year project. We finished it this year with the library, admin, and NPR area. Rolling Hills, we replaced classroom 1 through 3. And Mount Carmel High School administration was also recarpeted over the summer. Next slide. Creekside Elementary School had a full campus exterior paint done over the summer. We put together a brief drone video for you guys just so you could see a little bit of what we've done. This was a priority mentioned through our facilities master plan update meeting also as well. We promise we'll get better on the drone video. A little bit of a roller coaster, yeah. Sorry, we're trying to show off technology. I'll speak with our IT director on this for sure. Sorry, yeah, a little bit of a roller coaster. And we're done, all right. Next slide, thank you. HVAC replacement. So building C, D, E, and J, and K are underway right now. We're just about wrapped up. We are projected to finish on the 19th of this month, just in time for the start of the school year. Also Westview High School, A building, M building, and N as in Nancy were also replaced. Boilers and HVAC rooftop units were replaced. Next slide. This quad area near the U building, we had some drainage issues. We addressed that also. Removing trees, grading, repairing the drain lines, and some concrete replacement and installation of the beautiful artificial turf that you see here. Next slide, please. So each of these projects were identified during the school year as a need for replacement due to age and wear. These sites also were replaced as well: Midland, Willow Grove, and Turtleback. Next slide. So Rancho Bernardo High School, what we did here is we replaced 2 malfunctioning boilers with efficient condensing commercial water heaters. This is unrelated to the HVAC chiller project as well. And at Mount Carmel High School, we redid the gym floor here. This is also a part of our annual maintenance plan. This was more than a little bit than annual maintenance because there was some wood replacement due to safety needs. Next slide, please. So both of these projects were at Westview High School. They were identified as a severe need due to safety concerns. So concrete in the racquetball court was crumbling and degrading. So this was a full restore of this area. The pool office had ceiling and wall restoration done over the break as well. Next slide, please.
All right,
Associates, hand it back over to Associate Sue.
Thank you, sir. All right, we're just going to quickly go through the ongoing capital projects and remind the board where we are with those. So next slide, please. Our Braxis project continues on track. So we're at DSA. We're almost through DSA. We expect a start date of October 2024. We were hoping to get in by January, but it looks like it's going to be more likely February of next year. Next slide, please. The Adobe Bluffs Kitchen, that work has begun. We're using KIT funds, which are the Kitchen Infrastructure and Training Funds that the CDE gave to school districts last year that we have to spend, and we have a lot to do. Unfortunately, it's not a lot of money, but we're subsidizing, or supplementing, I should say. We're supplementing those funds with a little bit of RRMA funds to finish this project. So we're on track, and again, we hope that this will be done in October of 2024. Next slide, please. And we're happy to answer any details about any of these projects if you want. We're looking at replacing the Black Mountain Middle School gym roof and HVAC. This will be spring of next year because there's some design challenges as well as some scope that needs to be sort of worked out. I'm trying to look to see what the funding sources are here. This is, as you know, we have a joint use agreement with the city of San Diego. So they'll share in the expenditures and funded mostly with developer fees in that area. Next slide, please. Rolling Hills Elementary School expansion. We're looking at starting next year, late spring, and finishing by the start of school. So we're already on top of this and getting going. Next slide, please. A whole list of extended student services projects that they're paying for, primarily with a nice fund balance that's been built up over years, as well as their ELOP money that they get now every year. This is some of the priority work that they've identified that Director Aris and his team are supporting and coordinating and making sure it happens. Happy to answer any questions. Next slide, please. Just an update on our solar project, which seems to have started a long time ago. It's been going on forever, but we're in the final stages, fully energized at 4 of our sites, the final stages at 5 or 6 of our sites. They'll be online soon, and we're still scheduling the work at Mesa Verde Middle School and Del Norte for various and sundry reasons. But we'll get there, and those will be online within a year or so, I would think so.
Correct.
Next slide, please. And I think we have our expansion at Westview High School for the CTE program, all designed, all at DSA. It's looking good. We're expecting an anticipated start date of this October. It's going to take about a year to complete. So you can see the nice schematic there going on. This is funded primarily with CFDs, a combination of 6 different CFDs funding this project. And again, related to growth of the program and of the campus in general. Nice. Next slide. And finally, we've been working with our VAPA coordinator, Director Harris has, to support her and her work with respect to improving our performing arts centers at our 4 high schools that don't have the other one, right? And so we're on track, it looks like, to get into, we had DSA approval, right, last week?
No,
Please.
it's been extended. We're going to go to in-person meeting. We hope to have approval first week of September now. Yeah.
Good, thank you. So once we get that approval, we'll go out for bid, and then we'll bring it back to the board for award, and you can, I'm sure Director Aris can answer specifics about what we'll do in the scope, but in the meantime, you can see that there are the three bottom projects that we're tackling as we move forward with spending that VAPA money. And I think with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions. Next slide.
Thank you very much for the presentation. I know I have a few questions, but I'll start down the row if anybody has questions. Yeah, Dr. Patel?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. You know I love facilities work. It's probably one of the things that brings me a little bit of joy. Love to see our facilities getting improvements. Looking at the solar project, specifically Mesa Verde, I know that there were some, I guess you would call them design challenges with needing to split the solar in different locations. Is the design of that still staying where it is, so some of it's going to be on the field?
Yes, the design is still going to stay intact. The issue there was SDGE basically overshot on the grid,
Yeah.
so that we need to rework. But we still have the same pricing intact from the original agreement.
So thank you for maintaining that same pricing structure. I know there was a little bit of concern that they were going to back out, that our partner was going to back out of those because of cost changes.
Yes,
So,
we found out, we
it's great
did
news.
find another partner, though, to take
Okay.
its place, but with the same
Matching?
structure, yes.
Excellent, thank
Yeah,
you.
I think that's what took so long with this, so now we're back to the scheduling phase.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then for the Adobe Bluffs Kitchen project, I think, Ron, those funds that are coming in, those aren't related to any impacts or anything. That was a grant that our school district qualified for. Is that how that worked?
Which funds? I'm
The-
sorry.
The Adobe Bluffs Kitchen.
Oh, yeah, no, they're grants that were given to every school district.
Okay.
But it had to be spent on kitchen facilities and other facilities needs related to the food nutrition program.
Excellent, thank you.
Just following up with the Adobe Bluffs Kitchen, how are they handling school with it not being complete? Are they a different location?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We're working well with F&N Director, Dr. Sina, and yes, we're bringing food from another kitchen
Okay.
to the site.
Fantastic.
Yes.
One other question. So I know we had a speaker about the ESS program, and they're doing all these amazing things with facilities. But the whole goal is to get that waiting list down and do opportunities that way. So I'm just kind of concerned on, as much as I want to do all these fantastic things for ESS, I also want to keep expansion forefront in our mind. I know that's not your job. But that's just my concern, is we're doing all these incredible projects that we want to make sure to focus on expanding the ESS program and utilizing funds the best way possible for that.
I think, if I may, a lot of those funds can only be spent for capital needs. And I would just say that the ESS has a lot of capital needs, and the facilities have gone a long time without significant facelifts and/or improvements. So I think they've done a good job of identifying what needs to be done. I don't think it's superfluous or in any way, not necessary. But I think it is a good point. I'm hoping that once we get through these, then we can look at some expansion opportunities with future monies.
I've had a conversation with administration at Westview High School about their school expansion, and that is right in the middle of campus, and they have a plan for the security of the students while there are presumably a lot of work people coming on and off campus for a long period of time. Can you talk to us and reassure us a little bit about Abraxas and Adobe Bluffs as well, and security plans there to keep our students safe and make sure when gates are open to let big trucks and things through that no one else is coming through?
I can speak to that. So we involve our principals before construction through pre-construction meetings and develop a game plan on who's the point of contact for the site and how just the traffic flow is going to work as well. Just so get heavily involvement with the staff and the principals on site. And we go over the game plans, put something together like a diagram, and discuss if we could need to change anything or adjust anything. So we have weekly pre-construction meetings as well. So if we need to adjust, we definitely will make that change.
And if I could add, when we interview the contractors as we're selecting them for the jobs, one of the questions we ask is, how do you screen your employees, and what safety measures do you take that keep our students and staff safe while you're on our sites? And obviously we anticipate some good answers, and we select those that have the best safety precautions.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That brought up a follow-up question for me. Is there a plan for Westview specifically, because they've endured quite a lot of parking disturbances for their students in the
Yes,
student lots?
we're working with Principal Rimillard right now.
Okay, on a parking plan for the workers?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? No, this is just a presentation, not a voting item, so thank you. Crews have been busy. I
All right,
appreciate
thank
the
you.
work.
Appreciate
I'm
it.
sure our students will when they return as well.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
7.7 is process and legal considerations for disposition of real property. Mr. Little.
All right, thank you, Madam President. This is our final presentation of the evening, and we're going to review the process for and the legal considerations of disposition of real property. Next slide, please. Here's what we'll cover this evening: the background on our surplus property, the process and considerations, and then we'll make a recommendation at the end. Next slide, please. As you know, the district currently has 3 vacant sites. Our Santa Fe Valley site, which we lovingly call 4G Road, our Black Mountain Ranch South site, which we call Santa Luz, and our Torrey Highlands site. And you can see the size of each there. Next slide, please. Way back in February 2012, the district formed its very first 7-Eleven committee. That's also known as the Real Property Advisory Committee, or PAC. It's called 7-Eleven Committee because the Ed Code stipulates how many members must be on that committee, somewhere between 7 and 11. And this committee is charged with sort of determining that a site is no longer necessary for educational purposes. At that point, after a few months of work, 4 sites were declared surplus, the 3 that we just saw as vacant, and then our water tower site, which is near above the Bernardo Heights Country Club. That was sold later, eventually. And then in 2017, we took advantage of the fact that 4G Road was surplus, so we sold it to the Y. And then we ended up buying it back in 2021 when they thought they wanted to develop it, they couldn't find the funds, yada yada, and in the end they offered it back to us at a really good deal, so we bought it back. So we still have that one. And then in 2019, you'll recall, as we were exploring some options with respect to the Santa Luz site, we reconvened the 7-Eleven committee for them to look at that site one more time and reassure us that it was still surplus and not necessary in the future for any type of school or educational facility. Next slide, please. The Ed Code, as I mentioned, has some requirements with respect to how districts deal with surplus property, and our Director of Capital Planning, Rhea Alschbach, is going to go through some of those very quickly.
Yes.
Next slide, please.
So one of the things we wanted to highlight, or two of them, is the community involvement and what are some of the options with surplus property if it's declared surplus. Next slide, please. So one of the major components is community involvement. That's, as Associate Superintendent Little mentioned, is the 7-Eleven committee. Its makeup is here. We have to look at the ethnic, the age grouping, and socioeconomic composition of the district, the business community, landowners and renters, teachers, administrators, parents of students, and any persons that have familiarity with land development, zoning, things like that within the district. And so this is what we did last time. I believe in 2012, we had 7 exact people. And so this is the process we'll go forward with also. So next slide, please. Here's some of the things that the 7-Eleven committee focus on. They're independent, they're objective, they're non-political, they hold public meetings, that's part of the process. They follow the Brown Act. We will review residential development, we'll review long-term enrollment, we'll review classroom utilization. Those are the factors that will help them determine if they feel we need those sites or if they're in fact surplus. And then in the end, they provide a report and they bring it forward to the board as an advisory committee as a recommendation for the board to vote on and declare if you believe that it's surplus property. Next slide, please. So here are the 6 options. I have a few slides with some of the very specific information. I didn't want to read it all to you. I wanted to make sure you kind of had that refresher, but we can just kind of go to the next slide. So a general process that districts usually do is sell their sites or they lease their sites. Okay, next slide, please. Not so normal, an alternative option is joint occupancy or exchange. And then next slide, please. Joint use and or rezoning. Each one of these has its own requirements. The Ed Code, I talked to the attorney, and there's so many requirements, there's so many codes that we have to follow. So whatever option comes forward, it's going to take following that process, and we will make sure that happens. Next slide, please. And I think I'm turning this back over to
Yes.
Associate Superintendent
Thank
Little.
you. And I just mentioned that I think the district's in good hands with respect to Director Alschbach leading the charge as we move forward through this process. But we are recommending, since the first step is to just reconfirm that the properties that we have vacant are not needed in any time in the near future or the long-term future, reconfirm that by a community engaged committee. We're recommending that the board approve the formation of such a committee, and I think that's the next agenda item. And then once we do once we get that approval, we would bring back to the board next month, right? I think
Yes.
we're moving that quickly.
Yes, we are trying to.
Right. The actual members that we would recommend with respect to serving on that 7-Eleven committee, and then they would do their work and hopefully report by November or December, so that early in the new year, you could decide what you wanted to do with any one of those 3 properties, and go out with an RFP or some other mechanism to get some action. I'd be happy to answer any questions with respect to the process.
Thank you very much. Questions? No? All right, we're clear on all that. This is not a voting item, so we'll move on to this 7.8, This is the approval of resolution number 10-2025 entitled Establishing a Real Property Advisory Committee pursuant to California Education Code Section 17387 et sec. Mr. Little.
Thank you, Madam President. So with respect to the presentation that we just saw, we do outline the parameters of the 7-Eleven committee on the green sheet, and the resolution, once approved by the board, will allow us to begin to form that committee and bring back a recommendation to the board for that committee.
Questions on that process? We ready to form a 7-Eleven? All right, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion by Ms. Kuvrett, a second by Dr. Patel. Ms. Kiley, what do you think? Thank you. Everybody else? Aye. All right, that's 5-0. Thank you. Moving right along, 8.1, approval of memorandum of understanding between Cal State San Marcos and Poway Unified School District dual enrollment of high school students. I'm excited. Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Over the course of the 23-24 school year, a planning team with representatives from each of our district high schools met to design and implement dual enrollment offerings beginning with the 24-25 school year. And although the majority of the dual enrollment programs will be piloted in 24-25, and will be in partnership with Palomar Community College District, we have continued to explore dual enrollment partnerships with other post-secondary institutions. A new agreement to pilot dual enrollment with California State University San Marcos is brought to the board for approval tonight. The initial course plan to be offered in this introduction is Introduction to Personal Health and Wellness, which is a part of a new pathway developed by the College of Education, Health, and Human Services, leading to certification as a wellness coach or a Bachelor of Arts in Human Development. This course will be integrated with the existing biomedical sciences pathway currently offered at Del Norte High School and is planned to be offered in the third trimester. And both CSUSM and Poway have received grant funds to make this opportunity available to our students at no cost. And Cal State University San Marcos will cover costs associated with the instruction, while PUSD will cover the cost of textbooks.
Any questions on this one? Yes, please.
So I just appreciate, I know getting relationships with the colleges and community colleges is a lot of work, and I appreciate that work. I hope it leads to even more and more opportunities for our kids, but I just know this initial negotiations to get this started is a lot of lifting, and I really appreciate you and your team.
Thank you, and I am going to have to give all credit to Kathleen Porter and her team, as well as all of our high school principals who were very, very involved in ongoing conversations and the development of this. So thank you very much to them. They put a lot of time and effort into this.
All right. Dr. Patel, yes.
Do you have a question? So I'm very excited about this opportunity and even more excited about the potential to grow it. Of course, I know I have to be patient for our students. We're doing one course at a time. Can a high school student that's not at Del Norte take this? And how would they be able to participate?
That's a good question. I don't have the answer for that, but we do have a guest appearance by a principal at Del Norte, Ty Eveleth, who is available to answer any additional questions. It's like I knew he was there.
I understand that it's connected by trimester, but
Correct.
Still curious. We have other trimester schools too.
We do.
Correct, and the reason that we're looking at the third trimester is so that it gives us the opportunity to put together an effective plan for rollout, and that it also gives us an opportunity to properly advertise to our students and get the right population of students in that space. The other part to that is then looking at total student flexibility with Cal State San Marcos. So right now, we're still in discussions with them of what the class size will be. So they've looked at anything from 15 students up to 38 students. So depending on that availability, we would love to see how we can expand it to anyone.
And then where is it located? Is it going to be at San Marcos?
No, it will be at Del Norte
At
High
Del
School.
Norte.
So
Okay,
it
so
will be
transportation is not an issue.
no
Thank you.
transportation concern for Del Norte High School students.
Thank you for popping up here. Any other questions while we've got him? Yes, Dr. Sykes.
So can you elaborate just a little bit more on this pathway so that we all have a better understanding? And like who is it open to? Is it, 10th, 11th? Is there, so if you could.
Yeah, I'm
or-
happy to.
Hey there, thank you.
Yeah, so it will be open to all students grade 10, 11, and 12. What we have designed with the dual enrollment program is that we want to offer a priority to our senior level students first. That will be transitioning out into the community college space, and then we'll go by grade level down. We really want to target those students that are also in the middle. Those students that have that opportunity, that this might be their first opportunity to access a college or career pathway course, specifically something that maybe they've not accessed an AP level course yet. And so now this will be a good entry level community college course or college level course for them to be able to take. So what it is it is within our biomedical pathway. That's why we were selected as the pilot. We currently have human body systems, principles of biomedical science, and the honors medical intervention. So this will tie into that pathway course and lead to a capstone for those opportunities for students. And so they don't have to finish necessarily that whole 3-step pathway. They'd be able to enter into and possibly do a 2-step pathway and still be able to reach that capstone component. Yeah.
Well, I'm very excited for the students of Del Norte and optimistic that we can continue to expand this to our other high schools. Thank you.
So just because it's a grade point game, is it a 5-point class or a 4-point class?
So that is a discussion with our board policy. That board policy has not
All right,
been,
valedictorian. We
has
got
not been
this.
brought forth. It's a discussion as we've rolled out with the dual enrollment program. It's something that the dual enrollment committee has been discussing, and it's something that is still under discussion to look at our board policy and look to bring something forward to the board for review and possible approval.
So along those lines, I know, Ms. Peterson, we've talked about how the career technical education pathways have their own benefits. It's not just about GPA, that it's about getting that college course checkoff points, right? There are 2 different pathways from my understanding, right? You can get credits towards college classes through career technical education. And I know there's this constant discussion because our community is the way it is around GPA, but we're trying to bring the temperature down also.
And we can have a conversation between dual enrollment, concurrent enrollment, articulated courses. That's a whole nother meeting that we could have to go through that piece of it. I think the one thing, just to highlight that point and maybe to give more information, one of the benefits of this program is that it is leading into the new certification as a wellness coach that has been rolled out with the state of California and Cal State San Marcos, and it also leads to a Bachelor's of Arts in Human Development. And students who take this course actually enter into a 3-year pathway program if they were to attend Cal State San Marcos. So they would be able to take this particular course. They would then take a course in the summer through Cal State San Marcos as they're entering fall freshman year. Within that, they would then be able to finish that bachelor's degree and certification within a 3-year time frame. And they also, through this grant, are provided an opportunity at an internship all three summers that they are enrolled at Cal State San Marcos. So we're excited about what that could possibly bring to students as they move forward.
Anything else? Yay. Love this one. This is an action item. Is there a motion to approve this amazing new course?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Dr. Seitzma. Second by Ms. Couvrette. Ms. Kiley, what do you think? Aye. How about everybody else? Aye. Fantastic. That's 5-0. Fantastic. Thank you so much. You can go back to your seat.
Thank you, Ty. So happy you were here.
And thank you to Director Porter, too, for that work. Yeah. 8.2, approval of 2024-2025 school plans for student achievement, our SIPSAs, and additional targeted support and improvement plans for schools identified as ATSI. I know we do have a public comment, so maybe we'll take that before I turn it over to Ms. Peterson again. Clerk Couvrette.
Tim Dockery.
Thank you again. My name is Tim Doherty, and I'm a candidate for School Board Trustee Area A. And over the past 3 years, I've had the privilege of serving as a member and chairman of the school site council at our school. During this time, I've collaborated closely with the teachers, the parents, the principal, and district administrators on our school plan for student achievement. This work has involved many hours of reviewing testing data, asking tough questions, and guiding newer council members to ensure our collective success. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the dedication and commitment of the parents, the teachers, and the staff who contribute to these meetings. Their efforts are vital, even when it's challenging to find the time. A special thanks to Mercedes and her team for the dedication in administering educating both the parents and the staff. And I urge all parents who wish to be involved to connect with their principal, inquire about the upcoming annual elections, review the bylaws, and take an active role in shaping solutions or in preserving what's already great at your site. However, similar to some of the LCAP comments I've had in the past, there are certainly opportunities to improve and streamline the processes surrounding the SPSA. Additionally, I think the school site council could be more effectively utilized as a focal point for other site matters, such as addressing campus concerns and formalizing the safety committee, which we did at our site. So thank you for listening, and for more information about my campaign, you can visit timd.PUSD.com. Thanks again for the time. Thanks.
Ms. Peterson.
Thank you, Madam President. Annually, school boards are required to approve site plans for student achievement and additional targeted support and improvement plans. This has traditionally been done mid-year, but our new approval cycle began last August and will continue with the fall approval timeline. These plans have been created using the state template and are aligned to our district LCAP goals. Staff members have analyzed data and engaged in purposeful reflection on previous goals in order to establish new goals and actions for the upcoming school year.
Thank you. Questions, comments? All right, you know I do. I would kind of echo Mr. Doherty. There are a lot of people involved in getting these SIPSs done every year, and I appreciate the amount of work that goes into them, and I want to thank all of those who have participated, again, especially the school site council members, but really everyone who reviewed them. These documents can be really valuable tools, I think, for guiding a school's work and really focusing in on data that reveal areas for improvement and require thought about strategies that might not have worked in the past, creativity for new strategies that might result in better progress for our students. So 4 thoughts that I'd like to mention overall, just quickly. I like the consolidation of the goals down to 3. We've had 5, we've had 5 plus whatever you want to add, and consolidating them down to 3, I think, allows for some site-specific focus and lots of strategies. Love that. Don't worry about writing this down. I'll give it to you. The standardization of the vocabulary used to describe our student groups, absolutely fantastic. We have been all over the map for years. I spoke at length about this last year, probably the year before, and the year before, and the year before, and the year before. But using varying and sometimes inappropriate wording in the past to describe those student groups. So this has made me so happy, and I know that this was a lot of work from LSS, your team, the directors, the executive directors who looked those over to make sure our sites got it right. I know you all did word searches for the wrong ones, and I appreciate it so much. It made these so much more pleasant to read. I wasn't hitting jarring language where I went, oh, no, that's not right. So that was huge for me reading through these. The third thing, the new template directing sites to their dashboard data, I think makes it much easier for the sites to determine which student groups require an improvement goal. But the dashboard, I think in reading, the dashboard shouldn't be the only indicator for improvement, and I think sometimes they were. I appreciate the sites that put in the time to consider indicators other than the dashboard and CASB scores, because there were some that did a really great job at that. And the fourth, I think there's room for improvement on school sites thinking about strategies to implement their goals. and reflection on the effectiveness of the prior year's strategies. And I do want to call out the one site that did do this very, very well for the second year in a row, frankly, Mesa Verde. So I do want to shout them out. Congratulations to them. They're not the only ones who had a good plan, by the way, but they're the ones that stuck out in my brain as I was thinking about all the ones that I read through. And they do have a recency bias. I read it last night, so they get that benefit. But again, thanks to all the people involved in the plans, and I think these can really, truly be very valuable to schools when they closely examine their data and thoughtfully plan for improvement. So I so much appreciate the improvements this year in the plans, and all credit to your office for guiding that work through LSS and the site. So thank you, thank you. Any
Thank you.
other thoughts? Yeah.
Thank you so much for your comments, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Director Hubschmidt and our executive directors who really worked so closely with our principals, and Merceda's really diving in and streamlining, helping to streamline that template so that it made sense, and narrowing our goals so that it makes sense to our community when they dive into those plans and read them. So thank you for your comments.
Much
and
more user-friendly this year.
Yes, that was our aim.
Really liked it.
So I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. Comments, anybody? No? All right. If you haven't read your students' SIPSA, get in there, do it. They're posted on every site's website, so get in there. They're interesting. It's a lot of good data. And we got to approve these, so is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. A motion by Dr. Patel, second by Dr. Seitzma. Ms. Kiley? Thank you. And everybody else? Aye. Aye. All right, that's, how many of us are there? I keep wanting to say 6. Sorry. 5-0. Thank you. And that does take us to 11.1, approval of revised regular board meeting date for December 2024. Mr. Mizell.
Thank you. So due to compliance requirements, it's recommended that the Thursday, December 12th, 2024 regularly scheduled Board of Education meeting be rescheduled to Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 6 p.m.
Thanks very much. Questions? What's the compliance issue? Can you be a little more specific about that? Something about the budget? The election certification?
Yeah, by ed code, the first interim has to be submitted to the county office by December 15th. And then there's different language about the transition of the board, and somehow those two dates don't jive ever. So we've had to get some dispensation from the county to give us some grace with respect to the former, as opposed to the latter.
And it sounds like every district in the whole state is going through that.
Usually,
Fantastic.
yes.
Well done. Yay, Sacramento. Okay, so this is a vote. All those, I gotta take a preferential vote, Ms. Kiley. Thank you. Everybody else? Oh, I'm sorry. No votes before motions. Thank you. Ms. Vice President, is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Second.
That's Dr. Seitzman, seconded by Dr. Patel. Now I'll take a preferential vote. Thank you, Ms. Kiley, and everybody else. Aye. All right, that's 5-0. Thank you. My apologies. Thanks for the correction. 12 takes us to our, what is this? Our board member reports. Hooray. Ms. Kiley, you ready to do your first one? Take it away.
As you may know, my name is Sinead Kiley, and I will be serving as the new student board member for the upcoming year. And I am really excited about this opportunity and the responsibilities that come with it. I am a student from Del Norte High School. I'll be going into my senior year, and I've been deeply involved with the Poway Unified School District since I was a preschooler at Del Norte. So, been here a long time, and I'm excited to work this year to make it even better. I didn't do anything particularly interesting this summer, but internships, enjoying the San Diego weather, and seeing some student one-act plays at the Poway Theater. Yeah. I've had the pleasure of meeting with several board members and introducing myself and getting to know the environment, and I'm looking forward to interacting with student reps from all the high schools and middle schools and just understanding issues most important to us students and being able to represent those ideas on the board. So yeah, thank you for this opportunity to serve, and I'm excited about what we can achieve in the upcoming year.
Thank you very much. Good evening and happy back to school. The school year is beginning very, very soon. Most of us think that the year to come is already upon us, and we're already planning for the year to come. I was at Westview registering my freshman. My last kid is now a freshman in high school, and my middle one is a senior. So we had a lot of fun registering and attending lots of events to get us ready for the school year. It's hard to believe that the summer is already gone, though, because it sure is hot out there. But upon reflection of the summer, there was a lot of activity over the summer, and sometimes we forget and ignore as community members what happens at our school sites during the summer. We've had summer camps, activities, and training. Staff throughout the district have been working during the summer to prepare for this school year. As you heard today even, we've had many facilities projects throughout the district in addition to all of the more routine maintenance work that happens. During these past months, I had the privilege of helping our youth in transition pass out supplies to students and families who need a little extra support getting ready for the school year. I attended a community meeting in Santa Luz to hear about concerns around a specific school facilities issue, which continued on to several meetings at the school site as well. Our district staff are diligently working to mitigate those issues and creating long-term solutions, and I look forward to hearing updates as they come along. While many of our students had opportunities to learn, grow, and create, our staff were right there with them, serving meals, guidance, and so much more. I offer my heartiest welcome to our new student school board member, Ms. Kylie, and I look forward to supporting you in your efforts to uplift our student perspective and address pressing concerns throughout the district. And just this week, I was able to attend back-to-school events for our school site, school leaders, and our new teachers. Yes, we have a lot of them. As teachers retire, move, shift, find other things to do, we end up with a lot of hiring, and that transition is pretty typical. And a hearty welcome to all of those new teachers and school site leaders, and congratulations to those in new roles. A couple of final notes before closing out my report. First, I saw some parent chatter in social media and personal contacts the past couple weeks about back-to-school supply lists. Just to reassure everybody, the requests are still there. They're just now being housed on our parent association sites. So PTAs, foundations, PTOs, places like that, not directly on our school sites. So if you're still in need of suggested grade level supplies, please visit those sites. Don't go to the school district sites. And finally, the ongoing survey for our school community to provide input on our superintendent search is open until August 31st. If you haven't put in your comments, please do so before that window closes. You can find that at our school district website. And with that, I wish everyone a wonderful start to our school year, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, well, I hope everyone had an opportunity to relax and rejuvenate in July, but I want to thank the staff that put the pedal to the metal, and thank you to our construction crews that were able to move mountains in just a month. I enjoyed the update on the projects and appreciate the hard work with very tough time constraints. Thank you to the teachers, bus drivers, ESS, and those that provided quality programs and services for our students. I'm kind of following off of Dr. Patel over here. I was fortunate to join Superintendent Mazel and Director Peck to see the Valley Summer School program in action. I wanted to sit with the kids under their desks in the dark with their campfires, the little lights, and tell ghost stories. It was truly innovation overload. We're off to an exciting start with the APSM Welcome Back with all our administrators and leadership. The educators are a very special group, and I'm so thankful to rub elbows with these caring and fun people. This morning we got to welcome our new teachers, and I challenge each teacher to make a positive difference in the lives of their students. Be that teacher that is remembered for taking the time to see the student and their special quality. Also, for the new teachers, please make sure to reach out with questions and ask for support. The support we have for our teachers and resources to keep learning are very exciting as our educators model what they teach their students, which is to be lifelong learners. A few of my short list goals, I won't share the pages of my long list. As I reviewed the school planners' academic achievement, for those of you who haven't seen it, math is number 1, language arts is number 2. We must always have academic achievement as a focus of why we have school. Poway Unified has a reputation it has because it prepares our colleges for what's next. Is it community college, Harvard, trade school, a UC, to be a good citizen, to be able to manage life balance, finance, teamwork? A strong foundation supports a skyscraper. and we must always maintain the highest expectations. Number 2 is instruction as independent and rigorous as possible. Sitting in rows, listening to a lecture, or worse, watching a movie is not the problem-solving skills of today. With different learning styles and interests, being a teacher now is a challenge, but it's an exciting challenge. And I was inspired by what Associate Superintendent Peterson's speech this morning regarding what if. We want thinkers and not memorizers. Again, if we're going to be pushing, I'm always going to be pushing CTE and dual enrollment as other avenues to make curriculum relevant and exciting. Sorry, only 2 more, guys. 3, embracing our parents and community. As budgets are cut, we need to think outside the box to ensure our students are exposed to the most enriching experiences possible, such as bringing the Oasis in for extra reading volunteers, businesses in for internships, volunteers for our gardens and clubs. And we know that they are so valuable in so many ways for our students. And on this, I do have to do a little plug. The Poway Community Foundation has released their LOI on their website to fund 501c3s and education foundations. I know Garden Road already put theirs in. So if you are part of a foundation that services Poway, you want to take advantage of that. 4, and final, get ahead of the financial literacy requirement. Many of us have modeled savings and budgeting for our kids. My electrical engineer son still packs his 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for work every day. But not all families role model. Even with Amazon offering payment plans, teaching our students about paying interest and the power of investing and compounding interest, and that is easier to save $1 than to make $1, can, again, set a good foundation. So finally, as we get ready for next Wednesday, I so miss the back-to-school shopping, the new school supplies, but I'm eager to get ready to see the pictures on Facebook. Make it the best year yet. I can't wait for all the wonderful updates. Thank you to Team PUSD, and have a fantastic year. Sorry, a little long.
You are entitled. I want to take a moment to welcome everybody back. I hope you all had the opportunity to recharge, relax, and be ready for the new school year. I know the new school year brings so much hope and excitement for so many students, teachers, staff. I know we're all excited. And at the same time, I know that there can be some anxiousness with anticipating changes, whether it be a change in the schedule, a change in routines, a new school, moving up in going from elementary to middle or middle to high school, and who their new circle of friends are going to be, who are their teachers going to be, do I have what I need? I mean, we're dealing with all those ranges of emotions in our house. I'm very excited about the upcoming year, having an eighth grader and a senior. But I know that there are so many, despite all of the challenges that will get worked through. You know, we listen and we redirect what we're hearing to those who can reach out and make those changes happen, and if at all. But we are listening, and I know that this is going to be a great year for all of us. 24, 25. I always like to congratulate those who celebrated milestones. While it was a while ago, the Abraxas diploma students had their graduation after our last board meeting. It's always such a special ceremony to go to, as each individual is uniquely celebrated, and a little bit of their story is told. Not to mention the Poway Adult School graduation that took place a couple of weeks ago. And while these individuals are, some of them are, you would think, well, why didn't you graduate when you were 18? And they're 20s, 30s, 40s, even older. And you hear some of their stories and the challenges that they had to overcome to be brave and boldly step out of their uncomfortable circles to make life happen, given the circumstances that unfolded in front of them that they did not anticipate. And it is admirable and inspirational to hear that they've decided after decades to go back and complete their high school diploma. It is, if you ever want to be inspired, it's hearing those stories. I mean, we have students that, you know, it's their traditional graduations that take place in June, and it's exciting for all of us. And those kids have had a lot of us guiding them so that they could accomplish that at 17, 18 years of age, but not everybody gets that, and it's such a special, incredible time to be there and celebrate those individuals who had to wait a long time. I'd like to welcome all of our new staff members to Team PUSD. I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can. It was an honor to last week and this week to meet many of the new teachers and APSM members. So welcome to Team PUSD. I look forward to meeting many new classified employees as well, because they are critical to the success of our students in the classroom. Welcome to Ms. Kiley. I look forward to working with you this year. It was a pleasure to sit down with you yesterday and get to know you a little bit better. Thank you to Mr. Little, as this is your last board meeting. I appreciate you taking the time to explain the budget and business side as best as you could. It's a new language for me, and beyond just basic accounting, and I really appreciate your professionalism, your dedication to our district, your candor always, and I wish you well in your next adventures. So thank you. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, Dr. Seitzma. Back to school, back to school. At my house, we are still in denial. We are continuing to embrace staying up too late, mild sunburns, a lot of mosquito bites, beach hair, but we'll get there. I know it. It was a great summer. I attended the late June graduations after our board meeting for both of the Abraxas programs, the transition program with 22 graduates off to new adventures, and the diploma program with 28 graduates who, like the adult graduates, faced some really uncommon obstacles and found a way to succeed anyway with help from the unique supports that you can find at Abraxas, and they're different from anywhere else in our district, but that is always a great celebration. With the other board members at the district, and our district's classified and teachers of the year, we rode on the old-fashioned fire truck at the Spirit of the 4th Parade in Rancho Bernardo. As always, it was way too hot, but it was fun. I always love seeing our high school marching bands, the color guard, the drum line, the cheerleaders. I wish they were in front of us, behind us, next to us, just trumpeting some fight songs and patriotic tunes in our ears. It was wonderful. In July, I visited both of our extended school year sites, Mount Carmel and Highland Ranch, with Mr. Mizell. Those are wonderful visits, found some busy students and very happy staff. You have no idea how wonderful it was to have staff approach me over and over again to tell me how fantastic our ESY principals, Megan Harkins Mubarak, Stephen Whitaker, and Michelle Gilly were. Staff mentioned them over and over and over again. I can't tell you, I've never had a visit like either of these ones before. It was amazing. Kudos to those 3 people and everyone really who helped make that run so smoothly this year. All of the students were busy, happy staff. I think I already said all this. It was just outstanding this summer, and I hope we can repeat that always moving forward. That was just great feedback. I spent some time with my own child at our Poway Unified Swim lessons held at Rancho Bernardo High School this summer. Shout out to Jeff Crease, best swim teacher there is. Always a highlight for my kiddo, and from firsthand observation, obviously, is for many others who participated in the lessons there, and junior lifeguard training for the 2nd summer in a row, which was full, and they were loving it too. Last week, I ventured up to Chapman University in Orange County with members of our Inclusive Practices team to accept a very, very prestigious award from the Thompson Policy Institute. Since we will be presenting that award at next month's meeting, I don't want to go into it too much, but suffice it to say, it was a big, capital letters, big deal. Our team's work and progress the district has made was specifically highlighted. They did a slideshow on us. I fielded questions from audience members for about 40 minutes after it was all over. The room was emptying out except for the people who were waiting to talk to me. It was crazy. It should have been Mr. Mizell there to answer these questions, frankly, but he was busy welcoming staff back to school. So it was me, second best, but it was a lot of fun, and I can't wait for you to hear more about it next month. Interest out there is huge. Poway Unified is a bright spot in this field, so to be continued next month. I did enjoy a casual meeting with our student board member, Ms. Kiley. I look forward to that perspective she'll bring all year. I enjoyed waving this morning with the rest of you at our new teacher welcome over at D39. I'll echo what Dr. Patel said. The superintendent search survey is still open until the end of the month. We have had a lot of responses, in fact, close to 1,000 at this point, but we were a little low on student input. So please ask your student to take the survey. It's quick. I think there are only 5 questions. Their thoughts are really important to us. If you're not a student, you can answer them too, but the students, we're a little low on that. And again, I'll echo happy retirement to Associate Superintendent Little. The years you served in that chair here marked by user-friendlier, how about budget presentations, a little bit less jargon maybe, charts and graphs that I think contributed to increased community understanding. And I think that's golden. We're going to miss you, and I think adventure is the right word. So all the best in your next adventure. And pass it to you, Mr. Mizell.
Thank you. So we're less than a week away from the start of a new school year, and I can say with confidence I haven't been more hopeful that this really could be one of our best years yet. And when I think about all of our students returning, I can't help but think about all of the people who set that first day of school up. Like armies of people in this building, at our schools, throughout the district, planning, organizing, anticipating, trying to get 3 steps ahead, from organizing registration and welcome weeks to hiring and planning orientation for new employees, juggling enrollment. I mean, talk about a group of people who've been under fire all summer, right, with IDTs, and it's crazy. Determining where seats are available and, right, what we can offer and what we can accommodate. The interest in our schools is strong, as you can imagine, and there's a balancing act and a ton of people who work behind the scenes. And there are these amazing stories that they're trying to accommodate, and it's hard work. So to all of the people who do oftentimes unpleasant categories of work, right, that are essential to setting our systems up for success, I just want to express my appreciation to Team PUSD. I especially want to recognize those who never stepped away, who didn't go to Kauai, who didn't find themselves in Barcelona, like who maybe got a sunset in at Torrey Pines, right? And there were a lot of people in our organization who worked all summer. So from classified staff to certificated, and even our certificated, look, it's a misnomer, this idea that teachers take the whole summer off. They're learning, reading, planning, organizing. I can tell you that our administrators, they are often on our campuses. When it's quiet, when their email isn't inundated, when there aren't 1,000 phone calls, they are on our campuses and working diligently, because those are the moments, those days, those precious few weeks where they can really do the creative work, the thinking, the 3 steps ahead. So lots and lots of people didn't take a day off. And even when they were taking time off, they were thinking of our kids. They were thinking of our families. And so, again, great districts are always, right, a reflection of the great people. And we'd be crazy if we didn't recognize how dedicated our people are. So I'm super excited for next week and grateful for all the people who have worked so diligently. So I want to thank Shelley and her team for an incredible Leadership Institute. I want to thank our APSM teams for a breakfast. It was a great event where we brought all our managers back. I want to thank the people who organized today's event, and again, Shelley and LSS, and that opportunity to welcome all of those new people to our district, new hires. Kind of fun, I asked people in that group of 70 who had attended our schools and were now returning to work in our schools to stand. How many people you think, Shelley? A dozen? 15? 20? 15 people stood up in that group of 70. So just think about the optics of that. Our kids are having such an amazing experience in our schools that when they go off to college, where do they want to come back? To our community. Where do they want to work? In our district. What do they want to be a part of? Paying it forward. It's incredible. So again, there's a lot that we can walk right past and not see, not appreciate, and it would be a mistake. It would be a mistake. This is a great school district, and I'm very, very proud to be affiliated with it and thankful for all of the people who day in and day out bust their booties making this thing go. So there you go. I also wanted to thank Ron Little, as several of you did, for his service to our district the last 7 years. I was thinking about this bond presentation that we were all mesmerized by, right? These numbers that our consultant made sound so simple, right? Oh, I have this chart, and he goes through, I'm like, oh my gosh. Anyway, I leaned over and just said, so just that small little category of work, how many millions of dollars do you think you've saved our taxpayers in this community? And he whispered back, 30 million. Just let that sit for a moment. $30 million. That's just one little thing that we saw in a report tonight. You have touched so many things like that over the course of your 7 years with us. You bring a humor, an expertise, a broad swath of experience. We have really, really enjoyed working with you, and particularly February to now. Having you as a wingman, as a member of our cabinet, I think I say on behalf of our board and this group here, thank you. Thank you for your service to our district. Can we give this guy a round of applause? All right, and that concludes my report.
I guess that takes us to item 14, adjournment. So for Mr. Little's final board meeting, I'd like to adjourn in his honor and wish him well as he eases on down the road. The next regularly scheduled board meeting will be Thursday, September 12th, 6 p.m. right here. We are adjourned